When most people talk about Unity Catalog, the conversation usually starts with catalogs, schemas, tables, permissions, lineage, and data discovery. Those are important, but they are only part of the governance story. Beneath every govern table, every external volume, and every data pipeline, there sits a more fundamental question. How does Databricks securely reach the cloud storage where the data physically lives? This is where external locations and storage credentials become critical. They are not just configuration objects. They are the security bridge between the Unity Catalog control plane and the cloud provider's identity and access management layer. On AWS, that means IAM roles. On Azure, it may mean manage identities or service principals. On GCP, it means cloud native service identities and permission boundaries. If this layer is weak, you can have a beautifully designed catalog structure but still expose data through an overly broad storage credential. If this layer is designed correctly, Unity Catalog becomes much more than a metadata catalog. It becomes the policy enforcement layer that sits between users, compute, cloud identities, and physical data storage. In this episode, we will go deep into external locations, storage credentials, and cloud IAM roles from two viewpoints: the system administrator who must configure and secure the platform, and the technical architect who must design the right trust boundaries for enterprise scale governance. Welcome to Architect Mindset, your blueprint for modern systems. To understand external locations properly, you need to separate the architecture into three layers. The first layer is a physical storage layer. This is where your data actually exists: an S3 bucket, a GCS bucket, or any other supported cloud object storage path. The second layer is a cloud identity layer. This is the identity that Databricks will use to access that storage path. On AWS, this is usually the IAM role. On Azure, it is commonly a managed identity attached through the access connector, or in some cases, a Microsoft Intra ID service principal. This cloud identity is where your cloud administrator defines what Databricks can technically reach. The third layer is a Unity Catalog governance layer. Unity Catalog does not ask every user to directly assume the cloud IAM role. Instead, it represents that cloud identity as a storage credential, then maps that credential to a storage path through an external location. Users and groups are then granted Unity Catalog privileges on the external location, tables, or volumes. Now, this separation is extremely important. Cloud administrators decide what Databricks is allowed to access at the infrastructure level. Unity Catalog administrators decide who inside Databricks can use that access. Technical architects must ensure that these two models are aligned, because a mismatch between the cloud IAM and Unity Catalog permissions can create either security gaps or operational friction. A storage credential is a Unity Catalog object that abstracts the long-term cloud credential or cloud identity used to access storage. It is not a folder, it is not a table, it is not a dataset. It is the governed representation of a cloud identity inside Unity Catalog. For a system administrator, this is one of the most sensitive objects in the platform. If a storage credential maps to an IAM role or managed identity with broad storage permissions, then every external location created from that credential inherits that reach. This is why storage credentials should be scoped carefully and granted sparingly. For example, an IAM role that can access an enterprise S3 bucket is very different from an IAM role that can access only one production finance prefix. Similarly, an Azure managed identity with access to an entire storage account is much broader than one scope to a specific container or folder hierarchy. From an architect's perspective, the important design question is this: what boundary should a storage credential represent? Should it represent an environment such as dev, test, or production? Should it represent a data domain such as finance, supply chain, or customer data? Or should it represent a security zone such as raw, curated, governed, or restricted? There is no single universal answer, but the principle is clear. A storage credential should represent a real trust boundary. It should not be created casually as a generic pass-through identity. If the credential is too broad, external locations become harder to govern. If the credential is too granular, Administrators may create unnecessary operational complexity. An external location combines two things: a cloud storage path and a storage credential. In simple language, it says Databricks can access this specific path using this specific cloud identity, and Unity Catalog will govern who is allowed to use that access. This is why an external location should be created as a security contract, not just a shortcut to a folder. It defines a governed boundary over a storage path. Users do not need direct access to the underlying IAM role or managed identity. Instead, they receive privileges on the external location or on objects created within that location. Now, this is a major shift from older patterns where teams mounted storage into workspaces, embedded secrets in notebooks, or created path-based access patterns outside the catalog. Those approaches made access harder to audit and harder to govern consistently. With Unity Catalog, the storage path becomes part of the governance model. For system administrators, the practical responsibility is to ensure that the external locations do not overlap in unsafe ways, that they point to the correct storage paths, and that permissions are granted only to the right account level user or groups. For architects, the responsibility is to ensure that the external location structure matches the enterprise operating model. A common mistake is to create one external location at the root of a large bucket or storage account. That may look convenient during the setup, but it weakens your ability to apply least privilege. A better design is to align external locations with meaningful boundaries, like environment, business domain, data zone, or application ownership. External locations are secureable objects, which means Unity Catalog privileges can be granted on them. The most important privileges to understand are read files, write files, and create external table. These privileges control whether a user can read files directly, write files directly, or create external tables that references the location. Read files allow a user or group to read the files under the external location. Write files allows writing to that location, but write access usually requires read access as well because Databricks must perform metadata checks and path validation. Create external table allows users to register tables backed by data stored in that location. For system administrators, this means external location grants must be treated with more caution than ordinary table grants. A user with direct file level access may interact with the files under the location more broadly than a user who has only select on a governed table. For technical architects, the distinction is even more important. Table access is object level governance. External location access is path level governance. So if you grant broad path level privileges, you may bypass the more precise control that exists at the table, view, or volume level. That is why a mature design should minimize direct file access for broad consumer groups. Data engineers may need file level access for ingestion and transformation pipelines. Analysts and business users should usually consume data through governed tables, views, or volumes rather than raw external locations. In enterprise Databricks deployments, workspaces often represent operating boundaries. You may have separate workspaces for development, testing, production, data science, or business unit isolation. If storage credentials and external locations are available everywhere, those workspace boundaries becomes weaker. Workspace binding helps solve this problem. It allows administrators to restrict where a storage credential or external location can be used. For example, a production storage credential should normally be usable only from production workspaces. A sandbox workspace should not be able to create external locations using a production cloud identity. For system administrators, workspace binding is a practical control to reduce credential sprawl and accidental misuse. It gives another layer of defense beyond user permissions. Even if someone receives a privilege on a credential, workspace binding can prevent that privilege from being exercised in the wrong workspace. For architects, workspace binding is part of environment design. It helps enforce the idea that development identities, test identities, and production identities are not interchangeable. This is especially important in regulated environments where production data access must be tightly controlled and auditable. The key principle is simple: bind sensitive credentials and external locations to the smallest set of workspaces that truly need them. Do not rely on naming conventions or human discipline when the platform can enforce such boundary directly. Unity Catalog does not replace cloud identity access management. It actually depends on it. The IAM role, manage identity, or cloud service account is still the foundation of storage access. Unity Catalog governs how that access is exposed to users and workloads inside Databricks. On AWS, the common pattern is to create an IAM role that Databricks can assume. That role should be trusted correctly and scoped to the required S3 paths. The policy should avoid unnecessary wildcards and should reflect whether the use case requires read-only access, write access, or full lifecycle management. On Azure, the preferred modern pattern is to use managed identities through an Azure Databricks Access Connector where possible. Managed identities reduce secret management overhead because there is no client secret to rotate. Service principles can still be used in some scenarios, but they introduce additional responsibilities around secret lifecycle, expiry, and rotation. A useful way to think about this is that Cloud IAM defines the maximum reach of Databricks, while Unity Catalog defines the permitted usage within that reach. If IAM is too broad, Unity Catalog becomes your last line of defense. If Unity Catalog grants are too broad, the IAM role becomes a powerful backdoor. Both layers must be designed together. External locations also matter because they influence where managed tables, external tables, and volumes can live. A managed table is stored in a managed store location controlled by Unity Catalog. An external table is registered in Unity Catalog but stores its data files in cloud storage that remains externally owned and managed. This difference is operationally significant. When you drop a managed table, Unity Catalog deletes both the metadata description and the physical cloud files instantly. But when you drop an external table, the table metadata is removed, but the underlying data file remains in cloud storage and must be managed separately. Volumes add another important concept. They provide a governed way to work with non-tabular files such as CSVs, images, model artifacts, libraries, or operational files. Instead of granting broad file access directly on an external location, architects can use volumes to provide a more structured governance surface for file-based workloads. For system administrators, the key task is to avoid unsafe overlap between managed storage, external locations, external tables, and legacy Hive metastore paths. Overlapping storage ownership can lead to confusion, broken assumptions, or even accidental data loss. For architects, the decision between managed tables, external tables, and volumes should be based on data ownership and lifecycle. If Databricks should own and optimize the table lifecycle, managed tables are usually preferred. If the files are shared with non-Databricks system or must remain under external lifecycle control, external tables may be appropriate. If the workload is file-centric rather than table-centric, volumes may be better abstraction. From a system admin perspective, the implementation flow should be deliberate. First, confirm the storage path exists and that its cloud permissions, encryptions, network rules, and lifecycle policies are well understood. Do not start in Databricks before the cloud storage path is designed clearly. Second, create or validate the cloud identity. On AWS, that means the IAM role and trust policy. On Azure, that means a managed identity or service principal and the appropriate storage assignments. On GCP, that means the service account and IAM permissions. The cloud identity should be scoped to the expected storage boundary. Third, create the storage credential in Unity Catalog. At this stage, admins should be very cautious about who receives privileges on the credential. A common recommendation is to grant only the ability needed to create external locations, rather than exposing broader file access directly through a credential. Fourth, create the external location by pairing the storage credential with the specific cloud storage path. This step converts cloud reach into a governed Unity Catalog boundary. Admins should verify that the external location does not overlap improperly with another external location, external table path, or managed storage location. Fifth, grant privileges to groups, not to individuals. Data engineering groups may need read files and write files for ingestion or transformation. Platform admins may need manage. Analysts may not need external location privileges at all if they access data only through tables or views. Finally, validate the design. Test allowed access from the correct workspace. Test denied access from the wrong workspace. Confirm that audit logs capture the expected activity. Document who owns the cloud identity, who owns the external location, and who approves future privileges changes. A strong enterprise design usually starts by defining the storage zones. For example, landing, raw, curated, govern, restricted, shared, and archive. Each zone should have a clear purpose, ownership model, retention policy, and security expectations. Next, define cloud identities according to the real trust boundaries. Production finance data should not share the same cloud identity as a development sandbox. Highly restricted personal or regulated data should not share the same credential as broadly available curated data. Then create storage credentials in Unity Catalog that map to those cloud identities. Keep ownership clear and avoid giving broad privileges on the credential itself. In many cases, only platform administrators or automated deployment pipelines should create external locations from these credentials. After that, create external locations at meaningful path boundaries. A location should be broad enough to be manageable, but narrow enough to support least privilege. Think in terms of data domains, zones, environments, and ownership, not only folder convenience. Apply group-based grants and automate the configuration. Mature environments should manage storage credentials, external locations, workspace bindings, and grants using infrastructure as code or controlled deployment pipelines. Manual configuration may be acceptable for learning, but it does not scale well for enterprise governance. Lock down your cloud bucket policies so they accept only traffic coming from your Unity Catalog IAM identity. If a malicious actor tries to bypass Databricks to read the bucket directly using an unmanaged cloud tool, your cloud perimeter will block them at the source itself. Mastering storage credentials and external locations bridges the gap between cloud infrastructure security and data governance agility. It ensures that your underlying data storage is completely secure while allowing your data engineering teams to move fast without friction. In our Databricks series so far, we have learned the architectural concepts to lock down our compute networks, user accesses, and physical cloud buckets. It's time to assemble these pieces into a grand enterprise defense system. So join me next week as we move to implement a zero trust data architecture where we will tie everything together to build an end-to-end security framework. Subscribe to keep building, and I'll see you in the next one.